So I'm coming day and night. I mean, it's terrific, right?
Welcome to another episode of From Tailors With Love. Back, returning to talk about Arnold Schwarzenegger is Ross Cooper from Schwarzenegger _film _props. How are we doing today, Ross?
I'm very well, thank you very much for having me back here.
Mate, I'm so happy to have you back on. Last time we got cut off. Something happened quite abruptly as we were just hitting our strides, right? But what I thought we'd do is we'll plow through the rest of the list, and then maybe you might be able to walk us through one or two of your props that you got there, some of your haymakers that you have in the background there. And but anyone that's listening on the podcast, good on you. Anyone watching on YouTube, you'll notice that Ross has got quite the Arnie man cave going on, and we'll dip into some of that perhaps towards the end of the show. Last time around, I think we got to Kindergarten Cop, and I've realised on this list of best rated Arnie films on Rotten Tomatoes that they have the critics percentage. I think not the audience percentage. So if you're thinking, oh, that film was much better than the other one, they'll blame the critics and not the audience because they sometimes can vary. But anyway, getting down to it, at number 17 is Escape Plan. And I've just pulled I pulled a couple of nuggets from IMDb relating to the costumes and some of the props to, weave in some of the style this time around. So from IMDb on Escape Plan, which is rated at 50% on Rotten Tomatoes. While filming Arnold Schwarzenegger's scenes in the helicopter, director Michael Halfstrom asked writer Miles Chapman to add a line for Rottmeier after the explosion on the ship. Chapman realized that earlier in the film, Warden Hobbs had said, "Have a lovely day, Mr. Rottmeier." Chapman then added the line, "Have a lovely day, arsehole," for Rottmeier. Chapman said he has received requests from fans to come up with a T-shirt with the line, "Have a lovely day, arsehole," on it. If you're interested in getting any of the props, over on Prop Store now, you can get a Breslin shower drain for $295.
Well, you laugh, but it's an integral part of the film. If for people that haven't seen the film, it's an Alcatraz bit at sea, pretty much. And Sylvester Stallone and obviously Arnold, with the help of Arnold Schwarzenegger, the first collaboration ever in cinema history. It's about time they got both that together. But the shower drain is obviously when they're in the prison cell themselves, or in the box, as they call it, the hot box, and he uses it to melt or to heat up the metal screws in the box floor, and then obviously Stallone then gets out and he figures out he's on a ship. So that's a very integral part to the film. So it might just be a shower drain to anyone that's just scrolling through the Prop Store website, but it's an integral part of the film. So it's definitely a keepsake and a part of the actual history to the film.
Yeah, that's a good point. Was this the first time they've been on screen together?
So, as co-stars, yes.
Right.
They had a little cameo in the first Expendables.
Okay.
Which is 2010, I believe.
Yeah.
And that was when he was still governor of California. So He had limited time on his hands. So they asked if they can have a little collab between himself, Stallone, and Bruce Willis. So everyone loved it. Everyone enjoyed it. Everyone loved it so much, they brought him back for number 2, and they brought him back for number 3. And hopefully, fingers crossed, number 4.
Hopefully, yeah. I remember Escape Plan being really good, but for some reason, I've only seen it once, I think. But I just remember it being like a really, really decent movie when I was watching it. Just bear with me a sec, mate.
No worries.
Anastasia's mum has to jump on a... This is for the people that have missed Anastasia's mum in the background of my Zoom calls. She kind of sits in the background, a bit tuned out, not really knowing what's going on, or that I'm indeed recording a show. But there we go. That's life getting in the way. I was going to say the best bit about Escape Plan for me was when they're having a fight and Arnie says that you punch like a vegetarian. And then he goes on to become like a vegan himself, doesn't he? Or was he already a vegan by that point? I have to imagine that happened later.
I think he's just pushing himself to be he's trying to obviously reflect a healthier lifestyle and stuff like that. So, and he's trying to prove that you haven't got to eat meat or to get the protein that you need to be a bodybuilder or to be fit. So he's pushing that at the moment.
Number 16 on the list is Maggie, which I haven't seen, but with 60% with the critics, Arnold Schwarzenegger played the role of Wade in the film for $0 after falling in love with the script. I didn't manage to find anything on Prop Store or IMDb that mentioned anything about the clothes or the costumes. But maybe you can just give us your thoughts on this one, please, Ross.
Well, like you say, he didn't get paid for it. It was a very small budget indie film that if he got paid, it would have never have happened.
Right.
Also starring was Abigail Breslin, who's obviously famously in Zombieland and a few other films like that. And it's not everyone's cup of tea. It shows a bit more of a range that he has as an actor. So he's not guns blaring. He's not loads of innuendos and one-liners. It was more a straight acting role. And people did enjoy it, but obviously for a lot of people, it wasn't this stereotypical Arnie film that everyone loves.
I heard or read that this was one of the best films on the blacklist, which is like this hive of undeveloped scripts or scripts that are yet to be made into films that kind of just get kicked about. And I think this one was like cited to be the best at the time. That's why he took it on as a project, as an indie project. But yeah, I should check it out. It did well in Toronto. Yeah,
I think it did well in Toronto and Cannes Film Festival as well. So
I should check it out. I'll have a look at Maggie. I'll have a look at Arnie and everything. I absolutely will. Okay, 15. Last Stand. 61% with the critics. I have seen the jacket from The Last Stand in the Arnie Museum. But your thoughts on The Last Stand, Ross?
Definitely good. Very, very good. It's his first film coming out after his time in government. So he had to get back with the fans. He had to get back with the critics, and he wanted a big hit. So it was an action comedy, but there's a lot of action in it. There's Peter Stormare is in it. Louis Guzman's in it. Johnny Knoxville from Jackass is in it.
Yeah, I remember him.
So it has got, it's got a lot of action, and it's a very, very good film. And I know a lot of movie fans or Schwarzenegger fans in general, they really enjoyed this one. They really like this one after his time in government. So his new era of movie making.
And so this was his first full-time acting gig out of being the governor. So this was like what everybody had been waiting for. Oh, yeah. No, I think I remember the hype for this one.
I think it came out in 2013, something like that. So, yeah. I'm quite lucky that I've got, I think in the opening 5 minutes of the film, I've got his shoes from it. So that's handy.
Oh, really? That's pretty cool. Hey, what shoes are they?
So they're like boating loafers. So with the start of the film, he's like a sheriff in just normal civilian clothes walking across the street, and and everyone's going off to the American football game. So the town is going to be empty, and even the mayor has come over and said, "Oh, you taking a day off?" And the camera pans down to these shoes so I can screen match them, which is perfect. And he's a funny quip about his shoes, and then the film rolls on. Well, I thought that's quite cool that you can screen match them, and they have a little conversation reference the shoes that I own. So cool. So I was quite happy that I got them with a signed poster by Arnie from The Last Stand as well, all displayed up. So I'll show you later on.
Yeah, definitely want to see them shoes. Next on the list, we've got Conan the Barbarian at number 14 at 66%. A little nugget from IMDb. Hopefully I've got the right bit of info this time. To give the characters' costumes a more authentic and lived-in look, Dino De Laurentiis had the cast members wear their costumes both during rehearsals and the actual scene shoots. 59 people found that interesting. I don't know if I did. Conan the Barbarian, there's a prop on Prop Store that you can still get, which is a white priest hood. A priest's hood worn in the Arnold Schwarzenegger film, blah, 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 can be seen wearing these hoods. The priest can be seen wearing these hoods, I should say. Conan goes to find Tulsa Doom, James L. Jones, and beheads him. That's a bit of a spoiler. Sorry about that. The custom-made hood is white. No size is marked. And that is going for 195 quid. Does that interest you, Ross?
I'm holding up as bigger stuff from Conan. Like I say, I've had the luxury of holding one of the stunt swords that Arnie used in Conan the Barbarian, which was just, is made of fiberglass, but the size of it, it's still a magnificent piece, and it was used, on film when he was on horseback or something like, or in a sheath or anything like that. So it wasn't actually sort of fighting quality, but it was in the film, which I'm quite impressed about. So if I'm going to get anything from Conan the Barbarian, it has to be something extra special.
Nice. So who's got this sword? Is it?
It was in last year's Prop Store London auction. So I think, if I remember rightly, it sold for £50,000.
Wow.
I think it was estimated 30 to 50, and I think it sold for 50. I might be wrong, but it definitely sold for around 50,000. Plus, obviously, with the auction fees and all the rest of it. So it was probably slightly more, but the final bid was 50,000, which is quite impressive.
Definitely. I read on IMDb that they actually paid a large part of the budget went towards the swords, and they had to pay like 10 grand per sword. So there must have been some real swords that were getting slung about now.
Oh, 100%. Well, yeah. I know, obviously, like you say, the Austrian museum in Thal, they've got an original over there, which is in the museum. Arnold's definitely got one. We don't know what it is, or if it's a hero sword, or if it's a stunt sword. I know the director, he had one which went up for sale, I think, at one of the auctions over the last couple of years, and the director obviously sold that. So there's a few swords out and about in the bazaars. So, nice. And obviously in the prop world, there's not just one prop, is there? So you obviously got the heroes, your stunts, and obviously if there's any problems or anything breaks, you need another prop to replace it for continuity reasons. So
number 13, the Running Man. Oh, how about that? With 66% with the critics. The Running Man suit that the contestants wear bears an Adidas logo at the hip and right arm. So that's pretty good for Adidas. I wonder if they know that. Probably do.
Well, they probably did. They must have signed off it. So they wouldn't have used.
I don't know, because of the year. I mean, like nowadays, anything that happens, and I don't know how clear it is that they have the Adidas logo in the shop.
Well, they wanted it in 1987. I think they wanted as much advertisement as possible, because the film was based around TV. So it was going to be product placement.
Right. Okay.
So they wanted Adidas on here, and they wanted Captain Freedom to, have his workout stuff on screen, and they obviously they always cut commercials when anything goes wrong. Even when one of the runners, he was about to die by Ben Richards, and you can even hear him saying, cut to commercial. So there's a lot of on purpose product placement. I don't know how Adidas have signed this off, or how much they got paid, or if they got paid at all back then. But yeah, they got the suits.
I'm gonna have to dig up some contacts with Adidas and blow the lid off this thing. But I've seen that he, like a million years ago, I remember Yaphet Kotto being really good. People obviously will remember him from Live and Let Die as Mr. Big. And I really like the scene where, is it Ken Kerr? I forget his name. But when he's signing the contract and then just spears his contract with a pen, puts it through the contract and into his shoulder. That pen. Now, if I had to get anything from the film, I'd get that pen. That'd be an awesome prop. I was going to ask, do you have anything from Running Man?
No, I haven't got that luxury. No, I've only got one thing from his 80s, golden era. So, but Running Man is definitely something I'd love to get from something from that film. But there's been plenty of opportunity. There's been lots of things that have been up for sale. I know Julian's Auctions in Beverly Hills have had a few stuff up for sale at the auctions, who recently have just done the Stallone collection.
Yes, I saw that kick off.
So let's pray Julian's gets the Arnold collection eventually in a few years' time.
Yeah.
And there's a few other companies in the States, and obviously Prop Store in London. They've obviously had a few big Running Man pieces. So, but once they're up, they're gone, because once you have them, you ain't going to want to sell them again. So, if it's on the market, you get it if you can.
Do you know other people like you that are just specifically Schwarzenegger prop collectors?
I know a few. Yeah, I know a few. So we'll have a so I'm quite lucky that some of them come to me, because I've been blessed and privileged that I get a lot of the exclusives. So not specifically just from Prop Store. I had the honour of all behind the scenes and exclusive to Julian's auctions last year. They give me, and they're all over the media with Rolling Stones and CNN and Sky News, a bit of Sky News, for example. And I messaged him. I said, look, is there any chance that, could you send me some details of the Arnold items you have or may have on your auction? And I spoke to a lovely guy who's the head of marketing, I believe, and his name is Jason. And he said, email me, we'll have a chat, and we'll see where we go from there. A week later, I had pretty much the entire itinerary of every Arnie item they have at auction. And they said, you have the exclusive rights. You can post them before anyone else. You're the only person that has all this. So I was like, that's very, very kind of you. So, and I'm quite lucky that as of my Instagram account is built up so well that a lot of other companies are now coming to me going, we've got this, we've got that. You can post it before anyone else. So I said, oh, excellent. Thank you ever so much. Cool. So a lot of collectors come to me for this inside scoops.
And do you get to meet these collectors, or is it like a virtual relationship?
Not for the last couple of years because of COVID. So obviously, I think I was still very new into the social media world when this all started. And luckily enough, while COVID's been happening, it's just flourished and more. So now we're at the end of it. Touch wood, hopefully the end of it. A lot of auctions are now opening up their doors again to do live auctions, where you can bid in person. So when I do go to do these bidding in person, I can now meet these collectors face to face.
Right.
Hopefully not battle them out for the items, but at least I get to meet these people.
Yeah, I guess it's going to be like who you're going up against. It's like if a couple of Bond nuts are going for the same thing on eBay and they've been sharing it on their social posts, and who's bidding on it, well, I don't think I can go up against this guy. I know how deep his pockets are. He's got a freaking Aston Martin on the driveway. So
that's exactly it. You know how deep some people's pockets
can
be. And
it's only going to end in
way above normal Joe Public, like me, for example.
But do you find anything on eBay in terms of like gems and hidden beauties?
You do find stuff. I think the last thing I picked up from eBay was a framed Total Recall piece, which had some original Mars money in it.
Oh, right. I love that.
And I think that was about 300 quid. I was like, sod it, let's get it. And it come with certificate of authenticity from Prop Store, so I knew it was legit. But it's same with costumes, same with props, same with anything nowadays. Everything can be faked.
Right.
Everything, same as autographs can be faked, and there's some very, very clever people out there that can, make it look very original, very authentic. But same as eBay, Amazon. You just got to be careful, because if you spend a lot of money on these things, thinking they're the real deal, and you're not, and they're not.
Yeah. Have you been foul to any of this? Have you been a cropper?
Touch wood, no. I've overpaid on a few things when I first started out because I was excited. And half cut. But I've learned. You learn as you go. So I've spent. I think my first ever piece was my Predator poster, which is when the first time I ever met Arnold at that auction.
Right.
And it was signed by Carl and Arnold. And I thought I could never. And as a novice back then, I didn't know this stuff existed. So I never thought I'd get the chance to buy anything signed by Arnold. It was done on that night. So I spent about 2K on it. Wow. On hindsight, it was probably with Carl Weathers' signature, about 900 quid, if that.
What if it didn't have Carl Weathers' signature? Would it be worth more?
700-800 quid is probably the rough. It depends on how good the signature is, what the signature's on. But Arnie signs a lot of stuff now. So same as a lot of celebrities sign a lot of stuff now. I know I'd never reclaim the money I paid for it.